Once upon a time in the bustling heart of Brooklyn, New York, there lived a woman named Margaret Sullivan. At 53 years old, she was a mosaic of laughter, love, and ordinary moments, intricately woven through 28 years of marriage to her husband, Daniel. They shared a small brownstone in Park Slope, where their daughter Emma grew up surrounded by the warmth of Sunday dinners and the gentle hum of family life. Daniel was not just a husband. He was a steadfast presence, a school teacher who came home every evening at 5:30, planting a soft kiss on Margaret's forehead before dinner. Moments that felt sacred in their simplicity. But on a fateful Tuesday morning in March, the sun rose on a world drastically altered. Daniel didn't wake up. A heart attack stole him away, leaving a gaping void in Margaret's heart. I was there, my dear child, as Margaret reached out to grasp his cold hand, her voice trembling as she dialed 911. 3 days after the funeral, she stood in her kitchen, staring at his coffee mug lingering by the sink, whispering into the silence, "Why?" Each tear that fell was a silent plea, a lament echoing within an empty house. Yet, Margaret's saga did not end with Daniel's death. It was merely the beginning of her wilderness, a journey through despair that would lead her to discover her own strength. 6 months later, another storm hit when Emma, now 26 and battling her own demons, vanished without a trace. The girl who had once filled their home with bright laughter became a restless spirit, searching for something beyond the confines of her life. Margaret watched helplessly as Emma's rebellion morphed into recklessness, the loss of her father igniting a fire of turmoil within her. When Margaret woke one morning to find Emma's bed empty, a fresh wave of grief crashed over her. There was no note, no explanation, just an ache that consumed her. She searched tirelessly, calling Emma's friends, driving to familiar haunts, and even filing a missing persons report. But the police gently reminded her that Emma was an adult, free to make her own choices. A mother, however, never stops being a mother, and the passage of time did little to ease her heart's burden. Weeks turned into months, months into a year. Emma's only message, terse and cold, read, "I'm okay. Don't look for me." The weight of Margaret's sorrow became an anchor, dragging her deeper into darkness. She stopped sleeping, finding solace only in the quiet hours by Emma's empty bedroom window, hoping to glimpse her daughter's face. Church became a painful reminder of her isolation, and the once joyful meals she cooked turned into solitary acts of survival. She drifted through life like a ghost, her spirit slowly diminishing. I watched her fade, my precious child, as she went through the motions of living while her essence withered away. But I never left her side, even as she cried out in despair, questioning the divine plan. It was a Tuesday night, 3 years after Daniel's departure, when Margaret sank onto her bedroom floor, clutching one of his old shirts, tears soaking the fabric. In that moment of utter despair, she reached for her phone, not with a plan, just seeking something to fill the void. As her fingers danced across the screen, she stumbled upon a YouTube video titled, "God Says, Your Answer Has Arrived." Something stirred within her to pause, to listen. I began to speak to her through the words of the screen, touching the broken places where no human voice could reach. I reminded her she was seen and loved, that her suffering had not gone unnoticed. The story of Joseph in the pit surfaced, illustrating that the valley she was traversing was merely preparation for the mountaintops ahead. Margaret watched that video 3 times and found herself returning to this newfound refuge night after night. Gradually, she began to stir from her stupor. She started sleeping more soundly, cooking meals again, and re-engaging with her sister and friends. 6 months later, she experienced something she hadn't felt in years: laughter. One of her coworkers told a silly joke, and suddenly, joy bubbled up from deep within her. A reminder of light after long darkness. As Margaret began to re-engage with life, she found herself forging a connection with Robert, a kind-hearted widower from work who understood loss. What began as coffee breaks turned into dinners, and Margaret felt her heart slowly open to the possibility of love once more. It felt like a betrayal to Daniel and Emma. Yet a gentle voice within her whispered, "It's okay to live again." 2 years later, they were married in a quaint ceremony at her childhood church, a testament to the resilience of love. But my dear child, Margaret's story was not yet complete. 5 years have passed since Emma's last message, when one October afternoon, Margaret found herself in the kitchen of her new home with Robert, making apple pie and humming along to the radio when her phone rang. An unknown number flashed on the screen, and as she hesitated, something compelled her to answer. "Mom," came the voice on the other end, older, steadier, unmistakably Emma's. Margaret's heart raced as she hurried to the coffee shop on 7th Avenue, praying fervently that this moment was real. When she arrived, she found Emma sitting in a booth, thinner, but with a light in her eyes that had been absent for so long, and beside her, a little girl with dark curls and eyes that mirrored Daniel's. "Mom," Emma said, her voice trembling, "this is Grace, your granddaughter." 4 hours passed in a blur as they shared stories of pain, growth, and redemption. Emma spoke of her struggles and how the baby had become her reason to fight. And then she revealed that Margaret's YouTube videos had guided her back to herself, igniting a flame of hope amidst the darkness. In that coffee shop, amid tears and laughter, Margaret knew that love had not only survived the trials it faced, but had transformed into something beautifully resilient. Her story, once steeped in sorrow, now brimmed with the promise of new beginnings, a testament that even in the depths of despair, there lies a pathway to redemption and reunion. In the hushed stillness of a late evening, a mother sat with trembling hands, her heart a tempest of uncertainty and longing. Margaret, aged 61, lifted her gaze toward the glowing screen, the familiar words from the channel God Tells You flooding her mind with memories. 3 years ago, this channel had saved her daughter Emma, pulling her back from the precipice of despair. It had whispered hope when darkness threatened to swallow them whole. And now, those same words echoed in Margaret's heart, igniting a flicker of belief that perhaps, just perhaps, her family could be whole again. As the bright light from the screen illuminated her features, Margaret's thoughts drifted back to that fateful day when Emma had first hesitantly stepped through the door of her home. Her eyes shadowed with pain, but a glimmer of determination shining through. She had reached out, and as their fingers intertwined across the dining table, Margaret felt the chill of years lost to misunderstanding begin to fade. "There's nothing to forgive," she had whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're here. You're alive. That's all that matters." Now the weight of time had transformed their relationship, threading it with love and laughter. Emma had blossomed into a beacon of strength, 8 years sober, guiding others through storms similar to the one she had once battled. Her laughter rang through the walls of their home like a melody, while Grace, the little girl with bright Daniel eyes, darted between them, filling their lives with innocence and joy. "Are you my grandma?" Grace had asked innocently, and Margaret had nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks, overwhelmed by the miracle of presence, of connection restored. Margaret's home, once a sanctuary of silence and sorrow, was now vibrant with life. Sundays became sacred, a ritual of shared meals and stories, of Grace teaching Emma and Margaret her favorite games, of love weaving through the fabric of their days. And in the quiet moments of reflection, Margaret continued to watch the God Tells You channel each morning, her heart swelling as she shared pieces of her journey, hoping to inspire others walking their own difficult paths. Yet, it hadn't always been this way. There had been long nights cloaked in despair, when hope felt like an insurmountable mountain. Margaret remembered the aching loneliness, the suffocating weight of her own pain, when even breathing had felt like a burden. It was then that she had clung to the messages of hope from the channel, whispering broken prayers into the void, believing that somehow she was being held, that she was not alone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Margaret recalled the struggles of countless others she had met along the way. James, a veteran battling his own demons, had found solace in the same videos that had wrapped her in warmth. Linda, who had lost everything to a hurricane, had transformed her devastation into a beacon of strength for others. Michael had risen from the ashes of unemployment, starting anew, fueled by faith and hope. Each story resonated, weaving a tapestry of resilience that connected them all. But Margaret's journey was unique, not solely because of the happy ending, but because of the strength found in the struggle, in the in-between moments filled with doubt and despair. She had learned that love doesn't diminish love, it multiplies it. With Robert by her side, they celebrated their 4th anniversary at the beach, the waves crashing against the shore, mirroring the rhythm of their rejuvenated hearts. In those moments of quiet reflection, she felt Daniel's spirit alongside her, embracing her joy. As Margaret gazed at the ocean, the setting sun casting golden hues across the water, she understood a profound truth. Her pain had been a part of her story, but it was not the whole story. It was the resilience that grew within her, the ability to keep showing up even when life felt unbearably heavy. The waiting, the wilderness, the healing, it had all led her to this moment of grace, where she could extend a lifeline to others lost in their storms. And as she thought of her beloved child, she whispered into the universe, restoration is real and second chances exist. The journey was ongoing, but she no longer feared the unknown. Instead, she stood firm with hope in her heart, ready to embrace every new chapter that lay ahead, knowing that seasons change, and life, like the tides, has a way of bringing forth new beginnings.